show you.
Yeah, while you're bringing that up, Tony, that's a good point. I've been trying to contact for flight. There's like contact in the settings, so I'm going to try to see if I can follow up on that. I mean, it should be fairly simple. You can airdrop other like a briefing. For flight should be able to handle that. They're usually pretty accommodating. Sorry, go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, I was just going to show you, like, I put comments underneath, like there's my comment from the Giant, and then I like copy and paste like the notes from it. Yeah. So. Yeah, and that's the thing. This discussion in general is going to be a lot of technique, right? So to kick it off, take a look here at the mission prep checklist that I think, Tony, you might have sent this to me a long time ago. But I don't know if anyone else uses this or something different. Can you see the screen? Yeah. Yeah, so I don't remember saying that, but I'll take credit for it. Yeah. So for the and again, I understand most of the people on here are well familiar with mission planning, but this is one of the ones that I started using. For the 6-monthers, we want to get them on G2, get them GDSS access, so that they can look at all the parts of that first Form 59, the mission detail. And the other thing they're going to need for this is an NGA account. I think that's still pretty much the standard, right? Getting airfield diagrams off the NGA. And the rest of the stuff, now that we have our pubs, I think people might start, using the Giant AP1 IFAR Self FCG just on their iPads and annotating there to accomplish this. But again, that's going to be a lot of technique. But you guys can all read over this mission prep checklist. Tell me if there's anything that stands out to you, anything you would do different. But I think this one is just a pretty good standard for a first pilot who's never looked at mission planning before to understand what stuff, what source documents we need to read through. Does anyone have any thoughts on this?
Do you ever read through any like the stiff diagrams that are in the G2?
Yeah, that's a great segue, because my next example, and to strike some fear into the first pilots, is if anyone has their pubs open to I'll just do it for you right here. PAFB. This was the first mission I flew with Smith, who's done a lot of this. Always was spearheading, putting all this planning on digital. So all these documents I have here are from the share that he gave me for all of the mission planning to a trip to Alaska. You type PAFB in your pubs and look at it in Aero app. Go here to airport diagram. You'll see there's nothing there. So that new first pilot who flies over to PAFB and in the air is like, all right, going to land. Let's go see what the airport looks like. You're not going to be able to do it. You don't have it with you. So in the NGA, once you get that access, going into the stiff and looking at the airfield diagrams that you do have available becomes very important. So I believe this is one of the ones we got off of it for PAFB. It's a Ladd Army Airfield right next to Fairbanks. But you'll end up seeing airfield diagram, maybe something like this, and it might be the most recent stuff you have. So you want to collect all this information together before you go on your mission, because it might not be on your iPad depending on where you go. Not sure. This airfield diagram, I'm assuming, is put out by the airfield management or something, looking at a field like this. I don't know if anyone, do you guys know who the publishing authority for a diagram that looks like this would be? That might be more of a gee whiz question, but it just occurred to me. Well, we also have the Jepson diagram. Jepson's pretty good about having diagrams. Those places that we don't have our DoD diagrams. So these two, we pooled beforehand, and just like Tony showed you with that on his iPad, technique back when when we were using technique is to mark up your Airfield diagram. A lot of times you'll see people still doing it on paper, writing all the things in this checklist on the edges of an Airfield diagram, so they have all the information in one spot. But you'll also see people doing it digital now, marked up all around the edges of the diagram, just like Tony showed you, and even doing some neat tricks like putting those notes in so you can put more information. But all the information you want is the stuff on this checklist. So let's start breaking it down. We'll look at the giant report. And here you can see Adam Smith prepared for me the giant report just for this airfield and saved it in the folder with all the other planning documents so that we could share it. Let's see. There we go.
I just wanted to say one thing about Jepson. I think a lot of people don't realize that they have to like install the coverage in order to be able to download Jepson plates.
Oh, for
So
sure.
so you can like go to downloads and not see Jepson and be like, oh, everything's like downloaded. But if you don't install the coverage, which is as simple as clicking on the more and then Jepson and install coverage, then you won't be able to see Jepson.
It's a great point. Yeah. So you want to make sure you have the pub set up so that you're able to see those Jepson materials. So looking in the giant report, Adam Smith highlighted here, suitable C5. So go into the runway information, highlighting the width, the surface condition, the weight for tricycle dual tandem, because that's what we care about for our airplane. And then pertinent information that you think stands out for this field, especially landing illusion. Recommend a highly experienced aircraft commander for operations at this airfield. That turned out to be hilarious because the landing illusion was, basically a hill that was so far away and so low that we couldn't imagine why they put this note in there. But those are the sort of things you want to look out for with mission planning. Here you see taxiways that are unsuitable for certain aircraft due to inadequate weight-bearing clearance. It doesn't have C5, so I couldn't tell you why he highlighted that one. Let's see. Again, breaking down the taxiways we want by weight for tricycle dual tandem. See taxiway E here limited to 486. That's pretty low. So that stuff comes up in mission planning, and I'd say for me that's one of the biggest things with mission planning, knowing the weights of those taxi ramps, because you get a taxi clearance. It's you don't want to be flipping through this stuff to figure out what taxiways can support you. One, you want to make sure before you even take off that you have a plan for where you're landing, because sometimes you'll have to contact the airfield manager and get waivers for some of these weight-bearing capabilities. And that's, I believe in the ASRR, they can waive up to 50%. But that's stuff you got to hack out in the pre-mission planning. And then again, if you mark these up on the airfield diagram and you get a taxi clearance you didn't expect, it's going to save you a lot of headache on the runway with engines running. Especially if you're at a busy airport, knowing where you can and can't go rapidly. And everyone feel free to jump in at any time here, because like I said, I know I'm not necessarily teaching everyone here, but this is also for posterity for the 6-monthers now.
I would also.
Hey, real quick, this is Leighton. Sorry, Jeffrey. Real quick, for the 50% waiver, where's that living now? Because I looked at the AMC stuff and it doesn't specify as far as that 50% rule of where that. I know it used to be a thing. I just don't know where that documentation is living at now.
Huh. Yeah, I can't tell you. I haven't looked for it for months since the last time I needed it, so I'm not sure where the documentation is. Was it not in the ASRR itself? No, yeah, it would have been the sub.
So you looked in the agency sub and the parenting document?
Yeah, that's right. I didn't find it.
So I'm looking at the ASRR. It's page 14, where it talks about airfield manager and senior airfield authority and weight bearing capacity approval. Planners must coordinate with the airfield manager and/or appropriate airfield authority to obtain approval to operate at weight bearing capacity up to 50% higher than those published in GDSS Airfield detailed ground report for 2050%. And it says
Sweet, awesome, bunch. Thanks.
Yeah, man. What you call it? For Ollie, for the one thing that I ran into when I was learning how to airfield plan, if you will, is just kind of like figuring out like the TERPS criteria for like string heights. And then another thing that I ran into when we went to Romania, for example, they don't have any DoD plates. So going into the DoD accepted host nation list and like figuring out like, all right, what's approved and can we even go there? And if you go to there under Romania, it says civil plates are accepted. Checking for flight, you have those civil plates. So that could throw some of the 6-monthers off because they're like not seeing those plates.
For sure, yeah, that's a great point. And yeah, for those 6-monthers, at the top of the airport diagram, it'll say what the authority is for the production. And yeah, the DoD host nation list is a great document to hit too, because like you said, if you go to a place where you don't have that, yeah, you'll need to make sure that the plates you have are accepted for our use. So thanks for bringing that point. Breeze through this. If there's anything else, yeah. So just highlighting things that you think are pertinent to our operations. After the giant report, say we look at the AP for the appropriate area of the world. For the 6-monthers coming out of pilot training, they're probably just used to living in the AP1, and got to remember that there's a whole world of pubs out there. But for Alaska here, AP1, again, we have the AP1 PDF pages snipped to just have the relevant pages, so it's really easy to read through and highlighted. So the AP1 for Alaska, all flights need an 1801. Looking altimeter settings, local, to Alaskan operations. Looks like this will just be broad stuff for the region that you're in. Looking at the IFR SUP, and in this case, the Alaska SUP. You want to have this seeing what the airfield you're landing, what the time zone is actually pretty useful, especially when you're looking at a mission cut in G2 and trying to plan out your duty day, talking to TACC, the stuff that comes later. Looking at what kind of lighting they have, tells you when the field's open, quiet hours, regular maintenance that's going to happen. This is telling you PAPIs won't be usable during a period of time. Traffic pattern altitude, big one to take from the IFR subs. That way, if something unexpected happens, which is pretty rare for the C5, that you need to know traffic pattern altitude. But just good essay to have. So here for fixed wing turbine, 2,000 feet. Contact information, type of airspace. This is all the stuff you want to kind of hit on. One thing that you 6-monthers probably aren't familiar with is the foreign clearance guide. Pull this back up. So for Alaska, not quite as monumental as other fields, but looking at general entry requirements, credentials, there are places you go. Israel, where passports become a big deal, where you're coming from, all those kind of things. Australia is a great example with the foreign clearance guide. You got um, what's the word? De-insectication or whatever, disinfectation, killing insects on your plane that you have to comply with in order to go there. So you'll have to know, picking up. So some countries you go to will have very strict requirements for health and safety. They'll be picking up, and so you'll be picking up like insect spray, and it might not be at other places on the road, other airfields that should have them. So you might have to plan at home station to take those things with you. So you'll be looking at the foreign clearance guide. This one here for Alaska. Let's open it up. Talking about general entry requirements, and not expecting anything here to be highlighted going US to US, but it's something with foreign countries, and especially the weirder they are, you definitely want to take a look at that as well with your mission planning. Following that, you're going to be taking a look at the NOTAMs every time you fly, and that will go on top of everything else, all of this other pre-mission planning that you've done. And like I said, annotating all this on the airfield diagram is a great way to start. But what we'd like the 6-monthers to do is to go through this checklist, and every time a new cycle comes out, I'll break down a list. I'll work at Tony. We'll get a list of the 6-monthers that are out there, and kind of we have a list of airfields that we go to commonly, like Rota, Spang, all those, and we'll start assigning some airfields to people so that they can practice their mission planning while their squadron not necessarily flying, and hopefully that effort will help out the whole squadron. If we have folders like these built for the common airfields, so that you can just go to one folder. I'm thinking in Mattermost because the work for home restrictions. So hopefully we'll just have Mattermost threads for the different airfields, and just have these documents updated in them, so that aircraft commander can verify that there's still the current flip, but it's just a little faster way of doing some light mission planning. And again, not ever expecting this to be used in lieu of actual mission planning yourself. This is first and foremost about GK for the 6-month pilots. Does anyone have anything to add?
Yeah, I just got two quick things to add real fast. I mean, get into your chili there, Ali, but you mentioned the time zone difference. Super helpful. I'm happy you brought that up. One thing you could do is if once you get access to G2, you right-click whatever mission you're working with, and you click on Mission Setup Report, and that will detail the landing times and local for you for your entire trip. So if you're trying to make your trip better, then you can look at like ops hours or something like that, or quiet hours. So, and then you mentioned NOTAMs too, which I'm happy you brought that up, because there's one time where the airfield was closed over Thanksgiving, and if we didn't look at the NOTAMs for the entire, I look at NOTAMs for the whole trip, which is a lot of work. But you can bite you too if the airdrome's closed or something like that. So I like where this is going. Hopefully it works out.
Nice, for sure. Yeah, good point with that, and a good plug too to get your G2 columns set up, because you can really make it work for you if you go there and customize your G2 settings. Once you get access for that, you can set flight duty periods, crew duty periods, all that stuff, ground time. You can have a lot of information that G2 will do the math for you available. But again, you always want to verify that. Sometimes, especially when TCC changes the mission, those times don't always update appropriately, like the actual time. Sometimes they stay off the estimated, but it's a great plug for using G2 for your mission planning to the max extent. All right, we're coming up on half an hour here. No one has anything else. We can stop it here. We'll put this on YouTube for the 6-monthers to take a look at, and I'll write up a little guide for them and get with Transition Flight to start hacking this program.
Yeah, I think I'm the only 6-month guy on here, and this is extremely helpful. Just at least getting.
I didn't want to call you out. I saw you're the only one.
Yeah, no, but I think other people are either on missions or they have sims today. But
awesome, love to see.
Yeah, just in general, it was extremely helpful. As far as just having a general idea of what you're going to be doing for mission planning on your dollar ride or anything like that. I think what you brought up about practicing, like just on the bigger airfields that we do go to, I think honestly that'd be really helpful for the people that aren't necessarily getting on a mission or just kind of hanging out a little bit more. Just practicing, looking at everything, and setting up the whole checklist, mission prep checklist that you have here on that airfield would be really helpful to get that done. Never heard about the Jepson installing that on ForeFlight, so that also was a really good note. But yeah, in general, it's extremely helpful and very insightful. So I think a lot of people will really like this. So thanks.
Hey, I appreciate it. All right.
To add on with that,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that if any of the like 6-monthers want like help, or like instead of just following the checklist, like they want someone to like kind of show them where to find those things and kind of like walk them through it, I'd be willing to help them out with it. So
Absolutely, yeah. And like I said, so much of this is technique, right? That's why I'm worried about putting out a single guide of how to do it. It's almost it's an art, and it kind of changes every time. Every field you go is a little different. The way you do it will end up being different. But yeah, definitely encourage the 6-monthers to get with pilots to do this and ask questions while you're doing it. Don't just do it to do the work, but have discussions with people, because that's how you really learn how to do this. It's never ending. So. All right. If nothing else, I will end the recording and end the meeting. Appreciate you coming out, guys. Thanks.